What's up, people? Ryan Thomas here, the host of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, bringing you another edition of the Thomas Take. And as you all well know, there is a new season upon us of NFL football, which means fantasy time. Fantasy football, I am in 1, 2, 3, 4, quite possibly could be in 5 leagues. But this past weekend, the guys at myfantasysportstalk.com hosted their second fantasy football draft. It's a 14-team league with a half-point PPR. Not a full point, but a half-point PPR. And they put out their My Fantasy Podcast live draft, where they went live, they kind of analyzed the picks, and I picked 11th in the draft. I had a lot of ideas as far as what I wanted to do. And most of those ideas I was able to do pretty well on. But I want to go through what they had to say in terms of my team and, dissect it and see where we're at. So last night there was a preseason game between the New England Patriots and the Detroit Lions, I believe. And last night, one of the receivers that I drafted, Julian Edelman, tore his ACL. He's most likely out for the entirety of the season. I did not drop him yet in the MFST league, but I did drop him in other leagues to pick up better players and make some kind of trades that I'm looking to make in order to bolster my wide receiving core again. Cam Newton in the Brett Favre for President League, which is a league that my buddy Zach Troutwine runs, he is available. So, guys, you want Cam Newton. I'm looking for a wide receiver for him. I got Marcus Mariota as my backup. No interest in keeping Cam Newton if I have this wide receiver situation in Zach's league. But back to the MFST league. Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Amir Abdullah, Sammy Watkins, Zay Jones, Antonio Gates and O.J. Howard are my tight ends, and Adrian Peterson is in my flex slot, with Seattle's defense and Steven Gostkowski. So obviously I took a lot of chances, but one thing that I underestimated, being that this is a 14-team league, is the fact that it is a 14-team league. There were so many players that I had in my queue that would get picked, 2-3 picks before me, that say this was a 10-team league, I most likely would have been able to get some of those players. Adrian Peterson, I took 95th overall. It was a guy that I'm higher on him than I am higher on Darren McFadden in Dallas. I'm higher on Adrian Peterson. He's got a lot to prove. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder. There's definite need for him there, or else he wouldn't be there. Mark Ingram has been okay. He's been their starter the past few years, but obviously they felt the need to get better at the position, and they saw that Adrian Peterson could do that for them. And I like having Drew Brees and Adrian Peterson in the same backfield. I think that'll be successful. I don't know how much Adrian Peterson has left at this stage of the game, but I do think he has 2 solid years left. I don't know if that means 1,000-yard seasons, but I do think he could be a key contributor for his role, a flex slot player, a bench player, and that's where he is at listed on my team. The Sammy Watkins pick, that was a late pick. I thought that, I didn't really take him too early. I took him just right. He was ranked around the area where I took him. I think I picked him 67th. So, in a 14-team league, Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver 1 on the Rams. Although he's just getting there, I think Jared Goff will find chemistry with him. I think that it was apparent that the Rams thought that they really needed another target for Jared Goff in order to get better. And that wide receiver position for the Rams has mightily improved since last year. And you can analyze Jared Goff and say he had a bad rookie season, which he did, but he was a rookie. There was very little around him, and Jeff Fisher, it's safe to say, did not belong there as the head coach of that team. So now they have Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods. I like the chances that the Rams will run a better offense and they will be better. Now, the Sammy Watkins trade going from Buffalo to the Rams opened the floodgates for one Zay Jones, especially after Anquan Boldin decided that it was time to hang him up. So Zay Jones was a late flyer, a late round pick that I think will be successful regardless of the quarterback situation in Buffalo. he is a much more well-rounded receiver than that of Robert Woods. A big, huge upgrade over Robert Woods as far as him being the wide receiver 2 at the time before they traded Sammy Watkins. Realistically, if Zay Jones stays healthy and produces, he could very well end up being better than Sammy Watkins was in Buffalo, and I think that could be the case. But I'm excited to see what Zay Jones brings. Antonio Gates, Hall of Fame tight end. I kind of wanted Tyler Eifert, and I passed on Tyler Eifert to take AP due to the fact that I took Ezekiel Elliott in the first round with the 11th pick overall. I love Zeke. It's well known that Zeke is probably one of my favorite players in this league. So I took Zeke 11th overall. I'm willing to eat the suspension. Guess what? I ate 2 suspensions last year, and I ended up winning the championship in my league, Lockport Fantasy Football. Well, actually, it was 1, but 1 suspension and 1 devastating injury to my wide receiver 1, Dez Bryant, and obviously the Deflategate suspension with Tom Brady. I was 2-4, came back, won the league. It is what it is. I'm not really too worried about it. I can get through the first 6 weeks of the season with Leonard Fournette and Amir Abdullah as my running backs. I have received some trade offers, which I'm excited to kind of look at those and see what I can do with those, but the defending champ, B. Reed, New Breed, was saying, I'm relying on a 40-year-old quarterback, I'm relying on a rookie running back, I'm relying on a connection with the quarterback. I did drop Rashad Perriman for Danny Amendola, so Amendola could end up being a key contributor to my team with this injury to Julian Edelman. But this 40-year-old quarterback that you're talking about is the best of all time. So I'm not too worried about that. I think he's going to have another successful season with or without Julian Edelman. There's plenty of weapons around him. And Leonard Fournette, I think, is probably one of the best running backs to come out of an NFL draft class since Zeke and since Adrian Peterson. So I'm very happy to have him on my team. And Amir Abdullah, a guy that really hasn't panned out yet, but he's shown flashes of huge potential. And it was too much to pass up, too much for me to pass up to not take a guy like Amir Abdullah. Do I got the best wide receivers with Sammy Watkins and Zay Jones? No, but once I have a good gauge as far as what kind of trades I can make and things like that, I think I'll be fine. There's only 2 wide receiver spots in this league. I got 2 semi-decent ones, 2 guys that I know will get targeted. At least I got that. I got 2 of the best players at the position, Tom Brady and Ezekiel Elliott. At least I got that. And O.J. Howard, who I drafted as my backup tight end, I think is going to have a breakout campaign. Corey Davis, a wide receiver I drafted for the Tennessee Titans, the first-round draft choice. I think he'll be just fine. I think I got a good, solid team for a 14-team league. And I don't know how many teams make the playoffs in this league, but I think I would be one of them if it's 6 teams or maybe 8 teams. I'm not sure. But that was my take on the MFST Fantasy Draft. And obviously, as I stated earlier in the show, I got a lot of fantasy drafts that I'm a part of, 4 leagues, and I think I've done really well. Given the circumstances, I think I've done pretty well. The only league that I'm a little bit weary of is now that Julian Edelman is most likely out for the season. Cam Newton, I'm looking to trade him. I don't feel like I need Cam Newton in order to be successful. I took Cam Newton in the 3rd round of a live draft, hoping that Kelvin Benjamin would be there. And unfortunately, he wasn't. So I would like to move on from Cam Newton. I would like to trade him for an Alshon Jeffrey, for another player, and go from there. So all those in Zach's Fantasy Football League, Cam Newton is on the block. That was the Thomas Take. I'm Ryan Thomas. Haters gonna hate. I like my team in MFST. The season has yet to take place. Wait till the season is over to judge a team. I'm playing for the championship. I'm not playing for September, October. I'm playing for November and December. Take care, everybody.